The 48-member Senate Committee on the Review of the 1999 Constitution today began a 4-day retreat in Asaba, the Delta State capital. The Senate President, David Mark, who asked the committee to be transparent and fair in its deliberations, says the leadership of the National Assembly would not condone unruly behavior from groups or individuals that could undermine the process. Well, the Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, who is also the chairman of the committee, outlined a 16-point list that would be the focus of the retreat, including devolution of power, creation of states, the immunity clause, and state policing, among others. The two governors present at the opening ceremony were Chibuike Amechi of Rivers State and Emmanuel Uduaga of Delta State. They spoke about the need for federalism and equitable resource control for state governments.
Recognition of
The Constitution is for all Nigerians and not for senators alone. It is therefore the synthesis of the true will of the Nigerian people that will be reflected in the Constitution. But what we will not allow is for a vocal minority to foist its dictates on Nigerians. The Senate will resist any such attempt. We will certainly not permit the thunder of a fraction to drown the voice of the nation. This task will not be an easy one, but it is also not an impossible task. I wish, however, to remind Nigerians that constitutional amendment alone, without attitudinal change on the part of every citizen, cannot guarantee democracy. Nor will constitutional amendment alone banish terrorism and insurgency, stop corruption, kidnapping, or the orgy of violence presently ravaging our corporate existence. Constitution review should therefore not be seen as an end in itself. To run a democratic system successfully, the leaders and the led must show democratic impulses.
The Senate Committee on Review of the Constitution has critically revisited the report of the last committee to sift matters requiring immediate attention. We have, in addition, articulated other critical national issues based on unfolding realities and came up with the following. 1. Devolution of powers. It is expressed that the legislative list in our Constitution is skewed in favor of the federal government and needs to be revisited to give our Constitution a true federal character. The issue of local government creation, the place of local government in our federal arrangement, the functions and powers of local governments are yet to be settled.
Who are the federating units? What am I to this country? What is Rivers State to this country? How are the revenues shared? Who generates revenue? The revenues of the country. These are critical questions. Why should the federal government have 52.8% when development takes place in the different states? How is that 52.8% shared? Will Rivers State or Akwa Ibom or Sokoto get the same share as every other state? We want to know, what are the projects that are being done? Are they equitably distributed in the different states of this country? We want all those questions to be answered. We want to know from this National Assembly, because it's your responsibility to amend this constitution. Nigerians are frustrated by what those of us in government, are doing. That's why they are discussing immunity clause. If not, that's not an issue. What about the issue of implementation of laws and the constitution? What are the consequences for those who refuse to implement the constitution? What do? We need to address that. Do we put it in the constitution that anybody who refuses to implement the laws or constitution should go for 10 years imprisonment, whether he has immunity or not?
We are restrained by the overbearing unitary provisions of the Constitution, which cripples substantially the spirit and letters of federalism upon which this nation was built. It is our view that the Constitution needs a radical review in order to enthrone one true federalism.
And staying with the retreat, a political scientist and university don, Professor Isawa Eliago, has advised the upper chamber of the National Assembly to look into various aspects of the 1999 Constitution when it finally begins to amend it. Making contributions at the retreat, the professor insists that implementation is more important than drafting constitutions. He also calls for a single tenure for a number of years for executive office holders to make the office more competitive.
I have raised some issues which concern states as well as the country generally. It must be remembered, as stated at the beginning, that no constitution implements or operates itself. A constitution is operated by human beings, and the human values of acceptance of the rule of law. Nobody is above the rule of law. Adherence to the principles of justice and equality are crucial dimensions of our process of constitutionalism. That is to say, constitution in practice. One of the greatest problems now in Nigeria is Tazarichimania, the psychology of self-succession. I therefore recommend a single 5-year term for all chief executives at each tier of government. Clearly, any leader who cannot deliver promises he is made in 5 years is inept. 6 or 7 years in Nigeria seems too long for many Nigerians. It is also suggested that no one currently serving as a chief executive shall benefit from this constitutional provision. A single tenure chief executive produces less political acrimony, more time to concentrate on service delivery, less forms of democratic deficit, less pressure on public treasury, and greater political stability.